After we hung up, I went back to folding towels. But those soft cotton squares suddenly felt heavy, their edges digging into my fingertips like a dozen tiny knives. Why didn't he ask me? My husband and I had worked hard to give our son and his sister everything they needed. So why wasn't Caleb excited to see the house we'd bought with our life savings? The house where he'd grown up, where he'd had his first date in high school, where he'd graduated from college via Zoom, where he'd moved back in during the pandemic so we could watch him. Why didn't he want to visit us? I went online and checked the photos from the open house. Dozens of people had come by that day, all staring at the walls like they were museum pieces. And the house across the street, it had sold before we even listed our home. These days, no one stayed put anymore. They just chased whatever new thing glittered, then dumped it when something shinier came along. Caleb was an only child, the product of a decade of marriage and 5 years of fertility treatments. Our love was a constant in his life, something solid, like the stone lions that guarded the entrance to our home. But was it enough? We'd given him all our time and energy. What had we made him? A taker, not a giver. Someone who never called unless he wanted something. His sister, though, she was different. She called weekly, sometimes twice a week, just to chat. She'd moved to Idaho after college and found a job working with abused women, something she'd been passionate about since she was 12 years old. And she was getting married in June. The wedding invitations were already out. They'd asked if they could hold the ceremony here. Of course, I said yes, before my husband and I even talked about it. It's what families do. You support your children, even if they call every day, because you know they'll move away soon and leave you behind. But you don't resent them for it. You're glad they're growing, becoming independent human beings. But Caleb, he was another story. I couldn't remember the last time he'd visited, much less spent an entire day here. I told my husband I wanted to sell the house. He looked at me like I was crazy. This was our forever home. We'd planned to spend our golden years here. What about Caleb? He asked. He needs a place to stay when he comes to visit. He won't be coming to visit, I said, my voice shaking. Not if we make this our forever home. I stared out the window at the house across the street. Its porch light was on, casting long shadows on the sidewalk. No one would mistake it for a beacon of warmth and happiness. It was just a house, a structure made of wood and concrete and glass, and it was going to be sold. The next weekend, we listed our house for sale. 2 weeks later, we signed the papers establishing Claire as the sole beneficiary of our estate. Then we waited. My husband kept asking, "Are you sure?" But I was done being a mother. I'd done my job. It was time for Caleb to do his. One day in early March, our real estate agent called with good news. The house had an offer. Not only that, but the potential buyers were pre-approved and ready to go. My husband and I exchanged glances. We'd never made this much money in a month, let alone a year. We were both unemployed. "Tell them we accept," I said. "Thank you," the agent said. "I'll have the paperwork over to you by the end of the week." 2 days later, we met with the buyers. They were a young couple. They had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. The kids ran around our yard while the parents toured the house. When we all sat down together in the dining room, I told them this has been our forever home, or at least it was until today. Our son grew up here. He had his first date here. He graduated from college here. He moved back in here during COVID so we could keep an eye on him. And now he lives in Paris. I stopped, embarrassed by how bitter I sounded. "Paris," the woman buyer said softly. "That must be exciting for your son." "It is for him," I said, "but not for us." After they left, my husband and I sat on the porch steps. The house was empty now. All our stuff was in storage. We were living in a hotel. "Do you think we did the right thing?" he asked. "I don't know," I replied. "We'll find out soon enough." 6 months later, Claire called. Her voice was shaky. Mom, I need your help. David and I aren't getting along. Can we please come home? And that's when I knew we'd made the right decision.